So I will be talking about data products in practice. It's a bit of a vague title, I admit, but the subtitle is maybe more important. What we want to do is actually help humans and agents be successful with data. Previously, we were catering data for humans, and we can get by with giving data to humans because they can ask you questions. Agents can do that as well, but it helps a lot if you give them more structure, if you give them governed data. We heard it today as well a few times, governed data, trusted data. And this is what data products aim to solve. So if I would ask you this question, would you be able to answer this? Which of your data pipelines would you shut down tomorrow if there was a heavy cost cutting? Who would be able to answer that question on the spot now? Yeah, that's not a lot of people who would answer it, right? It's a difficult question to ask. And so we see that when you work with data products, as you will see later on, you will be able to answer that question very easily on the spot. And who is we? We see a lot of these things. We is Dataminded. I work for Dataminded, and we do the things on the image you see on the right. We build data platforms so that your organization can build data products, data pipelines successfully and fast, so your business domains can make decisions fast. We use data to make decisions, so that's actually what you need. You need to be able to let your business units make decisions. What we do is three things. We help you in strategy and architecture. We give advice. We help you build the things. We're engineers at our core, so we help build you platforms and pipelines. And we also upskill your people. We're a small company, and we heavily believe that we can upskill your internal people as well to deliver the best value. So we have an academy as well. We have lots of free material to share as well. If you're interested, let me know. But the question or the answer we often get is like, didn't Gen AI solve data? Now you see people building apps all the time. Everybody can build an app, right? So we don't need to solve the data questions anymore. Well, if you look at the query we did on a system called Snowflake, a data system, we asked which employees have the highest salaries. And you get an answer almost immediately. It translated to the system, it gives you an answer, and it gives you a good answer. You see the top three, Elise, Jeroen, Anke in this case, but something's wrong. There's two Sophies in there. One with uppercase and one lowercase. And that does not really stand out immediately, but it exposes quite a few things that to me show that we haven't solved the data problem. Data quality is still needed. Even if you give it to AI, you need to make sure everything is top quality, even more than before. Because AI will not say, oh, there's two Sophies. No, it will just give you the result, unless you prompt it specifically to check for this. And then the other things we also heard today, there's trust. Jamie, you talked about that in the first talk today. We want to trust data. Well, if I give you this, people will no longer trust the system. We need to check with users and evaluate our systems. Evaluation of AI is really difficult. There's also sensitive data. We heard about governance from Roger, I think. You need to govern all of this. You need to make sure you shape your data landscape. And so what we see in organizations, it's not solved with AI. On the contrary, now everybody wants data. All the departments, the things you see at the top, they come to, if you have a central data organization, they come to you, and now they want data as well. And you need to connect it to Copilot, open everything up. Yeah, we saw already that's not really a good approach. Even if you have a decentralized organization, there's lots of issues, but even if we keep a simple centralized organization, you get issues with speed. People don't know the domain, so they give you data, but they cannot judge. There's issues with quality. You give the data to the AI, but yeah, you don't know about the quality of it. And so there's issues with scale. It's a bottleneck. So what do? You add more people to the bottom. We need more data people, and you get a pyramid organization that is stuck. That's not really scalable. And so if you're a data lead, you are still stuck with the same questions. Are you compliant? What are we spending money on? Where do we do the cost cutting? That hasn't solved. On the contrary, it's even more complex now. So we tend to avoid these difficult questions while everybody is celebrating the easy apps we can build. These remain unresolved, and at some point we will hit a wall. But what if data was more like software? And for that, let me take you 25 years back. It was me sitting behind a CRT screen on a Windows machine that often crashed, trying to install software. In my case, I was installing games, essentially. I was playing Doom. But I needed to move files around on the computer. I needed to move files to program files, copy over some keys and things like that. So I was managing files. And in my family, I was known as the computer guy. So I also had to fix printers. But how do we solve this issue? My mom and dad, they couldn't do this. They were like asking me, can you please help us? We solved that. We made apps. Now you go to the App Store, you press one button and you get an app. It's a bundle of things. It's still files behind the surface, but it's curated, it's standardized, it's easy accessible. So we made it super easy to work with software. And that's on 2 levels. The top level is actually the consumer part. For everybody on the planet, it's super easy to install software, to get software. You even get quality labels, like this app will steal your data, and we still install it. And on the bottom part, we make it easy to develop. We give guidelines, we give frameworks, we give standards to developers so that they can build apps that are high quality. And so apps have solved that. And there is one company that fared quite well with that, and that's Apple. So let me give you that example. Apple has 50,000 engineers. I think that's more than many of us have in their companies. But they did something really nice. They empower 34 million developers. And they give access to apps to 1.5 billion end users. You can imagine why it's such a big thing for them. And the key thing they did is they built this app store. They made it easy to build for the builders and easy to consume. So by doing that, they got speed, quality, and scale all in one go. And you notice that I talked about the pyramid. You're adding more people. This is an inverse pyramid. With a few people, you need a factor to enable more and more and more. This is the goal, what you are aiming for. If we project that to data, 20 years ago, we were working with Excel. And we also had bigger systems like Oracle already, of course. But that has evolved not into an app, but into a spaghetti, a bunch of systems. We have copies everywhere, and apps are fundamentally different from software. You cannot just replace data. So data, there we have redundant data, we have historical data. You cannot just swap that out. So what do people do now? Instead of managing this spaghetti, people still want to do something, so they revert back to the old core technologies, email and Excel. So the amount of times I see email floating around in organizations carrying Excel files, copies, this is ungovernable. Imagine solving that with an AI. That's really difficult. I'm painting a pretty grim picture here, I know. Bear with me. So the app equivalent of what we want to build for data is actually data products. And that's where the whole idea comes from. That was a long segue into my introduction of this is something, we need something for data as well, something tangible, something people can one-click install. And so if you can reshape your data organization, if you can have 10 core platform engineers, and then a few builders, a few hundreds, and you can enable thousands of business decisions, you could go for this inverted pyramid structure yourself. And this is the goal we are aiming for. And that brings me again to my first picture. We try to build platforms and organizations with a very small core team that enables your builders to build data and data pipelines. And then we can enable your domains to make better and quicker decisions. Now let's zoom in on what is a data product. A data product is this ball we always draw. It's 3 core things. It contains data. No surprise, of course. It has people attached to it, the people who will build and maintain it. It's an important one. And there's also an owner attached to it. If the thing goes down, if it goes from green to red, somebody is accountable for this. So if your data is not flowing through, your report is not coming in, you know who to call. And finally, there's code and tools. It's packaged together, just like an app. It has data, it has the code, it has the tools. Everything is a deployable thing on a system. You can deploy and install a data product. You can get access to a data product. So now we have this unit. This is the ideal way to connect business to technology, because this is quite easy to reason from a high level, but also it gives people a scope, a space to reason about on the technology side. And you can start building these landscapes. You will have source-aligned data products whose primary purpose is to copy over data and make it available, aggregate data products, which purpose is to share, and consumer-aligned data products that are designed to feed it specifically to BI or AI systems. And it's exactly there that we want to head for. You still need that landscape. And there we have a friendly collaboration with Motera as well. We take care of the landscape, make sure your pipelines are up and running on the core platform. And then at some point you need to pass it to the AI and you need to link the systems. You need to take it into the same scope. And every bubble that you see here, it's a specialized scope, and you can easily attach agents to each of those. within the same permission boundary. Good. Going a bit to the technical route, but let's zoom out a bit. What does good look like? So this is all very abstract, right? Lots of drawings. What does this look like for real? Actually, it could be something like this. You could have a dashboard where you, as a data leader, have a cockpit. What's going on in my organization? I have this many users, I have this many data products, and it costs this amount of money, and it's also yielding this amount of money. So you can do ROI calculations on a domain, on a data product. So you could easily say, this one, we're using the wrong data, or data is crossing a domain boundary. Or you can say, the ROI of this one is negative. Why is that? And you can drill down and zoom in on those. To end up in this scenario, well, ideally, you end up with a quality and scale that is self-service for you as a leader as well. But what is the road to get there? How do you get there? There's 3 steps I will show you. The first step is to standardize and make things self-service. Just like we did with apps, we also need to standardize something here. Building a data product, building that ball is difficult. There's lots of technology involved. You need to write code. You need to make sure it runs every week. You have to write documentation. You need a semantic model to feed to the AI. Somebody needs to build that. And that's where you have your data engineering team for. But this is complicated and can take months. How do you reduce that? So we make things self-service. So the reduction should be from 3 months to 2 weeks. And we make things self-service. We make a small form. People say, I want to make a data product. I want to make a chat. Everybody wants a chatbot these days. So I want to make a chatbot for HR data. I fill in the form. I say, this is the team that will work on it. I check the box for Motera, for example. I want to have that enabled. I press the button. And a few minutes later, I get a space with standardized names on data technology, Snowflake, Databricks, there's many out there. But I get my own standardized space for my data product. People have access to it, and I can start writing code. I can even get templates for code because the system knows, like, you're building a data product. Here is some pre-arranged code. You could even let AI write part of this code, right? So ultimately, what does this mean? We make a mapping from the concept to the technology. And this is really interesting because as a business user, you are interested in that concept, you manage it on the conceptual level, but the people who build it, you need to have an agreement with them. And this is the boundary where you have the data product. It's a common language of business and technological people. So this will allow them to focus their decisions. They need to make many decisions, even a simple thing like, what do I name my products on Snowflake on that data platform? Everything is a small decision. You remove those technical decisions and you move to value. And in this way, 70% faster. We saw the same metric before, so I guessed it right. Even with AI, you can build these things 75% faster because you have code generation now. These things are solved. And that's a big one. Coding is solved, but engineering is not. So somebody still needs to build or design the house, even if you can lay the bricks, even if you have a machine to lay the bricks. And that's a big thing, because that middle layer, we see that shrinking. You don't need the same amount of people, and that's scary. We need to now see, like, okay, what are these people going to do? But that means the attention is shifting more towards the bottom, designing platforms for the AI to work on, and then also writing specs, writing specifications on what things looks like, designing the house. That is a more important task than ever. But there is a shift going on. All right, we can now build fast. How can we make it faster to consume? And consuming, well, because we standardized everything, we can fill a data catalog and you can shop for data. Every ball is present in this marketplace and you can just press, for my ball, I want to connect it to these previous balls. Click, 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 buy, and then you have access. Well, we made it into an approval flow. You fill out a request form again, and based on that request form, a Teams message pops up. Everybody's already used to Teams. Maybe not a good thing, but everybody is used to it. So in your comfortable environment, you get a pop-up. Jonny is asking for your HR data. He wants to use it for a chatbot. And you can say deny or approve or delegate to somebody else. You have full auditability on a conceptual level. So the big thing is you can remove the waiting time from weeks to days. You don't have to pass by IT and say, can you add this admin rights to this person? And then you forget about it because nobody knows what you accumulated over the years. You actually make it so that the owners of the data products, they make a contract and they are now accountable for maintaining that contract. So what did we do here in that first step? We actually gave people speed. By building a platform with these concepts, grounding it in technology, people become much faster. You can automate things. Let's move to step 2. Step 2 is making quality measurable. So quality, what does quality mean? Well, we made this list of 10 things. And I think if I would ask, who of you wants their data to be discoverable? I think everybody, I should have asked the reverse question, but everybody wants their data to have all of these properties typically, unless in specific situations. But if I would hand that over to an engineer, they would give it their own interpretation. Discoverable, I make a page on this wiki page or on Confluence, and it's discoverable. People can search for it. Everybody has their own interpretation of these metrics, but everybody wants it. So a big thing for you to think about also as leaders is what does that mean? And to sit together with people from technology and to say discoverable means everything you do, your product, your tables, your columns, need to have a description that is present in a data catalog. That could be a checklist. But this is verifiable by a computer or by an agent. Somebody can actually tick this off, so you can start scoring things. You can see how is the quality level of each data product. And so we end up in these systems where you have this checklist. Some of it is in Dutch, apologies for that. But you have a checklist on the healthiness of your data landscape. And you can see, for example, in this one, what it says is, this one doesn't have tests. There are no data tests present. So it has an X. It also gives you a suggestion. You should add tests to these tables. You can use then AI to even generate a test. So you cut down the whole development time. But what does that mean? It means that the quality bar has been raised. Because we can now use AI for all of this, the bar is a lot higher. And so by making quality measurable and checkable by a system, we make it also easier to automate, and so you can raise the bar in terms of quality, and you can audit things. And that's the step 3. We want to make governance insightful. As a data leader, you want to know what's going on, and often, to be honest, you're flying blind. You don't know what's happening on the technology level, and this is the connection with that level. So suppose you are the head of finance, and what organizations now want these days, we want to share data across the organization in a safe way. Well, that's quite some big things going on there. So you need to have some grip on your budgets, on where your data is flowing. So you actually want all of this. And that is now possible because everything is standardized. It is captured with metadata. It's present in a catalog. You can make these things. You can make these images. You can make these drill downs. And so what we also did in an organization is we classified the data products. Bronze, silver, gold, the naming doesn't really matter. But you can see in an organization what is performing well and what is not performing as well. It doesn't mean that you need to have everything gold, but at least you can make a decision like, oh no, this we need to cut, or this we need to improve, and this is the amount of money we need to invest on. And so you can even zoom in on such a factory of data, such a data product, and you can say, I see now also the value of it. We can start measuring value. That is really difficult, so if you want to discuss value, please come check later. But the cost, that's quite easy. You have infrastructure cost and you have people cost. Infrastructure cost, quite easy because we standardize it. People cost, if people book in Jira on your tickets, if they do, and if they have some time codes, you can just link that to a data product so you know exactly what is being spent on the build and the run of a data product. At the same time, you will have visibility on the quality of that product. So you can actually go to people because there's ownership and say, look, your data product is not compliant. You need to be compliant. We talked about compliance before. This is one of the important things. And then you can do audits. This is an audit that we did. I had to hide the names, of course, but you can see when was the data product last accessed. If it's 2 years ago, I believe it's red. So if something is not accessed for 2 years, is it creating value? Should you shut it down? I don't know. Sometimes there's also archival rules, of course, but at least you have insights and you can make a decision. You can also see the amount of queries that happens, and you can also see whether it's too permissive, then it's flagged. Like a lot of people have access and they're not using it. Well, it's too permissive. So all of this, we bundled that into an open source tool called Portal. If you're interested, let me know. You can just try it out yourself. And Portal allows you to build these kind of systems and to install it on your own components. So what do? We went over the 3 layers. We had the platform that helps you. We had the quality. And then now we look at scale because you can embed that in your domains. There's a few hairy questions I'd like to cover. Some questions I always get. The first one is, well, we already have technology X, Snowflake, Databricks, whatever. We have that. We don't need a platform or what you call it. Well, I disagree with that. I think lots of these technologies, you buy a technology, you don't buy a platform. A platform is a set of components that enables you to perform your data tasks. And here you still have to make decisions. What do I call my data products? How do I map it even onto the concepts that live in there? Is it a database, a schema? You have to make decisions. So the concepts are often missing or not aligned. Integration is also lacking. It will always miss certain features. Plus, these are generic solutions. While very good, we use the technologies all the time, you need to still add things to make it your own and make it work in your company. That's always the case. So Snowflake, Databricks, they live on that bottom layer beneath your platform. They're part of your platform. Second question I get is, will it be used or will it be used correctly? We heard this morning also that platforms, sometimes they die off after 6 months and then they're gone again. It's like the cat thing. You give a cat a basket and they go into the box. And these things, platforms are to be designed to make it easy to do the right thing. Think about the App Store. The App Store makes it really easy to publish new apps. So it's frictionless, so people use it, and then more people use it, so you get this enlarging effect. So we get like, people won't write tests. Well, then make it easy to write tests. You have AI now. You have a lot of tools that can help you to write better tests. It shouldn't take 10 days to write a test. If you can create sample data with AI, please do so. And so there's more of these questions. Also, when you build a platform, don't over-standardize. Don't make it too restrictive. You still want to allow for innovation. I use this 80-20 rule. If 80% of your data products are standardized, that's perfect. Still have some way for innovation, for experimentation, for exceptions, and then when that grows, make it a standard. So be flexible on these things. Some takeaways on this. So data products, that concept, if you use it in the right way, it is designed to speed up if you standardize. If you standardize, you can speed up your organization. And also make sure you make it self-service. If you make it self-service to build and to consume data, people will use it a lot more. The second thing is, don't make quality a slideshow. Make it computational. Make it something that you can actually implement and check whether things are compliant. Then it avoids the whole hassle and you can just show a score, and that's 100 times better than just hoping people will follow a principle. The final thing is, also for yourselves, make governance insightful. Make sure that you can answer these difficult questions by yourself. Make it self-service for you. So use data products to close that gap between business and between technology. A few extras. Think about what your landscape looks like. What is your current layering system? Where does it live? And what would you redesign about that? What would make it more easy? And how could you introduce data products in your organization? Then also, how does that fit into AI systems? Some questions I will put on the table also for the roundtable. The question I opened with, what if you would need to shut down something tomorrow? What would that be? And how would you answer that? The second thing, what's stopping you now from putting AI in production? We see a lot of AI for personal productivity. I'm using Claude, I'm using ChatGPT. But how do you make that into an enterprise solution that is secure, that is governed, that is compliant? We haven't figured that out yet. We are still figuring that out. And then finally, how confident are you that your data does not leave to a place it shouldn't? Are you? And is it needed in your organization, or is it okay? If it's not okay, you need to think about that. Do you need to bring it to your own cloud so that it doesn't float to wherever? All right, if you want to discuss more on this, you can book a call with me, talk with me on the roundtable or tomorrow as well. I put this hot dog icon there for you, Jeremy, so I'm also interested in having a quick bite if you'd like, or a quick dinner. I'm into German food, so I'm in the right spot. All right, thanks a lot for your attention.